Good morning. It's Lori from Simple Delights Bakery. How is everyone? I am coming on this morning because I am making puff pastry dough. So puff pastry dough is a laminated dough, and laminating is just the act of incorporating your butter into your flour. So right now I am cutting up my unsalted butter into hunks, and it's cold unsalted butter, so if you see me struggling, it's because it's very cold. You want your butter to be really cold for this process. And I use puff pastry doughs for my danishes, a lot of my pastries. It's just a really nice dough. It's worth the effort. Yeah, and so I think today I'm going to, after my puff pastry dough is ready, I'm going to make some fruit-filled pastries. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. So puff pastry dough you can make, and then after you let it rest in the refrigerator for a while, you can either at that point use it or freeze it. Yeah, so that's a cup of unsalted butter. Wipe my hands for a minute and take a sip of coffee while I have clean hands, because my hands are going to get very dirty. So puff pastry dough is very simple for ingredients. It is physically flour, water, butter, and salt. That's it. That's all that's in the dough, but it is a very time-consuming and messy process. So I thought I would show you all how it's done. And some salt. Of course, I use sea salt. And then I mix that together. And then I'm going to add my butter, all of it, at once. And I'm going to toss to coat. And then I'm going to start working the butter in with my fingers. So the heat from my fingers will start to melt the butter slightly and incorporating some of the flour into the butter. So when I say this is a messy process, it's a messy process. But it's good. I like to work with my hands, so it's good to work in the butter with my fingers and really kind of get it going. And then after I feel like I've got the butter kind of incorporated, so this takes quite a few squeezes of butter, if you want to call it that. So all I'm doing is really taking the butter and pulling it between my fingers and working it right into the flour. Again, I just love working and making different kinds of doughs with my hands. That's what I really enjoy about baking. So, excuse me, my morning frogs. So I hear it's going to be gorgeous today, so I'm looking forward to that. I think it's supposed to be 70 degrees outside, which is going to be glorious. The birds were just like a cacophony, if that's the word I'm thinking of. When I let my dog out this morning, there had to be hundreds and hundreds of birds chirping, and I heard the mourning doves and the cardinals and the robins and all kinds of birds out there today. They're just going crazy. So this is pretty incorporated, and I'll show you what this looks like. When I say pretty incorporated, it's not like, definitely doesn't look like a dough at this point, because the butter, because I'm working with it, will melt pretty darn quick in your fingers, believe it or not, even though it's ice. That's why you have to have a really ice cold butter when you're working with this. That's key. So I'm going to just make sure I have all the big parts done. So I'll show you what that looks like. So that's, see, it's still pretty not even formed together. So now I'm going to take my cold water and I'm going to dump the whole thing in there, and I'm going to start working with that. This is where it starts to get really messy. I'm going to just mix it with my fingers until I have kind of a dough started. And then I'm going to add some flour to my table. Move this out of the way. And then the fun begins. So you dump all this out onto a floured work surface. Make sure you get all your butter out and your everything that you need. Of course, you're going to have very messy hands, so if you don't like getting messy, this isn't for you. So then I'm going to press this into a rectangle of sorts, trying to get the butter to and the water to kind of make the flour cohesive. And now I am going to flour my rolling pin, and I'm going to start lightly working the dough into a rectangle. And then I'm going to fold it, what they call a single fold, into the middle, kind of like a letter. And then I'm going to turn my dough, and it will start to come together. And I'm going to lightly press it out with my rolling pin and start to roll it. See how it's starting to come together a little bit? Again. And again, I am going to press it together with my fingers. And turn it. And yes, this is very messy work. And then I'm going to roll it again. Usually you only do this 3 times, but I feel like my dough's just not coming together like I normally like it. And you're going to see lots of pieces of butter in it. That's exactly what you want, because this is a puff pastry dough. So this will, you want the butter because that's where you get your flakiness from. So I'm going to work this just lightly. I don't want to work my puff pastry dough too much, because you want it to be flaky and very light. And again, I'm going to fold this in like a book. To the best that I can. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it one more time. I want to make sure I get all the pieces of butter into my dough that I've missed. And just press that in there so it's in. I'm going to roll it a little bit more. And I'm going to fold it one more time in half like a book. And let me clean my hands off a little bit so I can lift up and show you what it kind of looks like if you can't see. So there's my puff pastry dough. I am going to wrap this and put it in the fridge to rest for probably 30 minutes or so, but I might even freeze it depending upon my time frame this morning. So I do try to keep it into a square or a rectangle, rectangle square. And there you go, Blitz puff pastry dough. It's really easy, it's just time consuming. Have a great day, everybody.